piling-piling programa mula Lunes hanggang Linggo. Aalawin kayo ng aming kilalang mga komentarista at public service program. Ito lamang himpilan ng DWTL.
The proceeding program expresses only the opinions and views of its respective block timer, producer, radio announcer, writer, and production staff, and does not in any way reflect the views of this station. The station has advised the programmers to abide by broadcast laws and KBP rules.
Every Saturday, 1 to 2 p.m., let's all listen to your T2J Ferrer, the professional safety and skills advocate on air. All About Safety is brought to you by 𝐒𝐁𝐿𝐹 Projects International Inc. Experienced and skilled people handling your sensitive and expensive machinery. They do rigging, lifting, trading, and transport your equipment safe and economical. If you think safety is expensive, try an accident. Or you could call on them at j.ferrer@jlftransport.com.ph or 0917-862-4995.
Hello, good afternoon. It's 1 o'clock once again with your T2J, and I would like to congratulate the Association of Safety Practitioners of the Philippines, through its chairman, Lito Peña. Congratulations for the ASPI convention yesterday held at the Manila Water site there at Balara, Quezon City. Madami po kami nandoon. So maraming salamat po sa inyo. At ang kanila pong presidente na si Alice Manalo, congratulations din po. Si Ma'am Lisel, si Sir Joms, sino pa ba? Si Sir Joms, Jojo Di Mahano, si Sir Joms, si Angela, lahat po ng mga dumating diyan ng mga si JP Bata nandoon din, si Archie Chua, formerly of Shell Exploration, no. Maraming salamat sa pagtanggap at kay Doktora Tess Cueco, no, na nandoon, no. Nandoon din si Doktora Tess na ngayon ang ating Executive Director ng Occupational Safety and Health Center. Nandiyan dyan. Maraming guest ko nga pala si Dr. Cueco daw sa next year on January, unang Sabado. So okay, JC Corpus, magandang hapon. Ryan Gusilla, J. Buffetts. Good afternoon. So maganda yung show natin ngayon. We would have a foreigner. Kaya kayo, mag-English kayo dyan, ha? Si Mark Onte. Magandang hapon. Okay. Our guest is now here. I would introduce to him. He is the Asia Complex Loss Director for Belfor Asia. He's more than 26 years of experience in handling restoration project for companies suffering losses after disasters, which the Philippines is well known. Studied electrical engineering at the Universidad Tecnológica de Buenos Aires in Argentina and worked at the National Institute of Industrial Technology, assisting with research program in the area of subconductors, where he gained considerable hands-on experience in developing and building up prototypes. He has also worked for Telstra in the design and construction of cable and internet network. So, I would like to introduce to you, without further ado, Engineer Guido Gavio. Engineer Gavio, good afternoon and welcome to the Philippines.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me today.
Well, it's an honor, and I would just like to tell our listeners and viewers today that the topic is Typhoon Aftermath, Restoring Hopes for Business and Livelihood. Okay, that would be our topic. So Guido, before I ask you certain question, I would like to know, more or less your journey in life, and how did you become an engineer, and how you were promoted to the safety profession, and right now you've been traveling all over the world,
Yeah.
uh, all
How?
over the world, giving safety tips and advising us awareness on disasters. You know what I'm calling, how to recover from these losses from typhoons and another disaster. Okay, Sir
Okay.
Guido.
Yeah, it's a long journey from where I started until today. But basically, I followed the step of my father. My father was an engineer, but he was specialized in oil, and I like more the electrical part. So, kind of, I follow his steps. And during my days at the university, also I have to work because we have quite a large family. So I was lucky to get a job in research and development, which it helped me a lot to do the theory and the practical at the same time. And once I completed my education, I decided that I wanted to go to Asia and see what's happening on this side of the planet. And so I moved to Australia, where I work there. Also, I was lucky, which I arrived at the moment where Australia decided to build the cable television network and internet. So I got involved in that project for a few years. And then when I completed that project around 96, I joined this company. It's called Belfort. Before it used to be called Electronic Remake in Australia. And then I started working on projects, basically, mostly related to disasters.
That's
And
great.
yeah,
That's great, Engineer Guido. That's
yeah,
great. So you've been at Australia and you followed your father's footsteps. I'm just recalling. So more or less, there's a lot of young people listening to us. So yeah. So just before we go on, there was a time in the Philippines at the hydro plant in Laguna. There were
mhm.
Argentinians who were here. They were in a company called IMSA.
Uh-huh.
You heard of them? They,
No, no, I
no,
didn't
no,
work.
no.
No.
They were into power generation. They were Argentine. There were at least about 7 or 8
Mhm.
Argentinians working here, and they're like you.
Yeah.
And I know that Argentina, you have a very powerful currency. What is the conversion rate of one Argentinian to a one US dollar?
Oh,
One
I
is to
think
one.
it's very bad now. We have a
Very bad
peso.
now.
No, it's about 10,000, I think.
Huh?
Because now I live in Singapore. I don't live in Argentina. So
You live in Singapore.
yeah,
Singapore. But
yeah.
before I used to, because you have already the technology. You've been building turbines,
Mhm.
generators.
Yeah.
Those were all Argentina men. And I remember one time of the other, you challenged a powerful country like in the United Kingdom, and you had war in the Falkland Islands, right?
Yeah. We didn't do
So,
very well there. But
okay.
yeah.
You understand a little Tagalog or a little of our language?
Well, I speak Spanish, so obviously Tagalog has a lot of Spanish words. Yeah.
And you're staying, where are you right now?
I'm in Singapore.
You're in Singapore. Yeah. Can I speak one of my, a little bit of my language so this, the
Sure.
listeners
Yeah,
could
of course.
be able to understand us? So,
Mhm.
mga taga all about safety, as you could see, we have a foreigner guest right now live in Singapore helping us sa mga safety problems natin. Si Guido Gabio. So, makinig lang kayo. So, yan ang ating guest para manalo ng load. Ang guest natin is si Engineer Guido Gabio. At ang ating topic Typhoon Aftermath, Restoring Hopes for Businesses and Livelihoods. Okay, we now go to my first question, Engineer Guido or Engineer Gabio.
Yeah.
What are the 5 pointers should any organization know when regards to safety and health? 5 pointers that this organization should know when regards to the thing that
safety.
you know about health and safety. Okay.
Yeah, in our organization, basically, because we work in disasters, obviously health and safety is a big issue because we go to places where there are high risk already.
Pare.
Yeah. It's okay?
Yeah. I'm supposed to mute my mic, because I'm asking my staff here to take notes on what you're talking about. Do you have any slides for this? Not yet.
No, not for these 5 topics. For the safety side, I have for the typhoon presentation because I just participated at the National Disaster Expo here in Singapore, and actually I talk about that. I talk about the Typhoon Noru, actually, which is the latest that they hit the Philippines. But
okay, go. Okay, so repeat again. I'm just asking the audience here in my office to take note on your 5 pointers. My apologies, Engineer Gabio.
No, it's okay. So basically, in our industry where we work is high risk because we go to places which are already damaged and the conditions are not ideal. But our approach is for safety usually come from top down, which means the management, the people who run our business are the ones who promote the culture of safety. And safety is a culture more than something you have to do. You have to embrace it. So the five main points we have for us in our organization is, number one is the approach. The management is responsible to make sure everybody understands safety. But safety alone, it's only a word. There's a lot of things hanging under the umbrella of safety. Now, if for us, the second point, which is to me is one of the most important, is you need to assess the risk. If you don't know the risk, you cannot be safe.
Again, the risk. The second point. The second point is risk.
Second point is risk.
Because the first point. What is again the first point?
The first point is the approach. It has to be
the approach.
Top down, and people follow the bosses. If your boss doesn't care about safety, people are not going to care about safety. So we the leaders of the company, we need to embrace safety and make it a culture. Everybody has to follow that. But if you don't assess the risk, you cannot be safe because you don't know. Yes? And if you don't know, you're in trouble. So for us, it's very important. Most of our training goes on risk assessment. Whatever activity we do, first we look, we see where is the risk, we see what the impact of that risk is to us. Is it a serious impact or not? And once you identify the risk, you have to do something about it. It's not good enough to say, okay, yes, this is risky, and so what? No, we need to take measurements or measures to mitigate the risk. To either, if we cannot eliminate the risk, at least do something so the impact is what we call tolerable. Like if something happened to me, okay, it's not bad, and things like that. And those are our two important points. And the other thing we do quite often, and this is just to keep the safety culture ongoing, is about 3 or 4 times a year, we do what we call a safety timeout, which is we stop working, and either if it's in our place or if we are working on somebody else's factory, and we look around from the safety perspective, what are we missing? Because usually when you get on to work, okay, you have your risk plans, your risk assessments, and you do the work. But there is always new risks happening, arising from our activities or the environment. So every now and then we need to stop and look into that to make sure it don't get us by surprise and then we have an accident. So we do about 3 or 4 times a year. We do this, what we call a stop timeout, and we write down all these risks we think they are important to us, and then we do something about it, and we continue working. We also do safety campaigns, so sometimes we have near misses. So we do a case study on the near miss, what happened, why it happened, how we have to avoid it. Here, Singapore is very good also because the Minister of Manpower, they are always giving you case studies of accidents, worksite accidents, and they tell you what it happens, why it happens, how easy it would be to avoid it. So we use also those case studies to promote to our people. And because we have the internet, and doesn't matter where we are in the planet, we can do this. And we don't have to be all in one room. And the fifth point, which is also very important, is training. We have to train our people. Without training, also safety is only halfway. So when it comes to safety, it's a lot of different areas where you can train. So we don't train everybody on all the areas because it's too much. But for example, we have work at height assessors, work at height supervisors. So some people in our organization assess the risk of if we have to work very high. Some other people in our organization, they are the supervisors. When we work there, they make sure we follow all our safety procedures. And it's always on the look for what we forgot or what we missed. And if we need to do some changes, we do it. So, and it's a lot of other areas, like we have people that take care when we work with power, make sure we are safe, like following LOTO or logout, tagout procedures, and liaising with all other stakeholders to make sure our working place is safe. So those are mostly our 5 key points.
Very, very nice, Engineer Gabriel. Very, very nice. No, but there are learned people. There are engineers here. There's I could see here Engineer JP Batan, Engineer Jester formerly from Unilever. Good afternoon. Jerry Candano, Ryan Lagitong, Jesse Pacula, Ed Gonzaga, Edwin Glenn Serconanan, Manuel Gatos, Paul, Brian. They're all listening. So I would like to really, there's a very question that they all have. When you say safety timeout, you all stop working and you analyze the situation. Yeah. What is that about?
Yeah, we stop, we look around and we say, okay, if we are in our office, because our office is like 4 floors and we have workshop, we have a storage area and we have office area. So we walk top to bottom and we check everything. We look at, okay, if we have a fire, are the fire extinguishers okay? If we have an accident, is all our first aid kits, which we have 1 on each floor, is it all up to date? Is something missing? We check our exits. Are all the exits okay? We check all the emergency lights. Are the emergency lights working? And then we also look at new risks. Maybe something, we get a new machine or something, and maybe now the space is not right. Yeah.
Okay, just one thing again. When you say you stop and what you're talking is that you're, for me, you're making an audit. Am I right? You're making an audit. You stop working and you look at if you have a fire extinguisher, you have a let's say for your self breathing apparatus, you're working at height tools like the scaffolds, the vest,
Yeah, safety
what's it
harness.
called? Safety
Yes.
harness. Okay, okay. Thank you very much for helping me, Engineer Gabio. So you stop working, and then you now have the safety campaigns. These
Uh,
safety
yeah.
campaigns, is this within your company or as
It's,
well for
it,
your clients?
no, it's for our company, for our people. Um, the safety campaign, 1 month we choose one topic, for example, falling from heights.
Okay.
And we usually in the elevator, in our office, and we on the emails, we send the safety campaign and we put a few case studies of what it happens, and how it could be prevented, which most of the time is easy to prevent. And just to make people aware of that, just keep in mind. So we maybe other months we work in confined spaces. So what is required to work safely in a confined space? And so we also every month we take one topic. Yeah.
Okay, that's very good. And now you go into a safety training. Does this one
Yeah.
has a pay? Is this done virtually, face to face?
Yeah.
Can a guy like me attend, or these people in our office? There are about 7 people here in my
Mm.
group working right now on a Saturday.
Uh-huh.
Uh, they're very eager to know how do you do the training.
We do. We have external trainings, like institutes where they offer this type of trainings. So, for example, if we want to get some of our technicians to be work at height assessors, they go and they do a training, which they have a proper trainer who knows better than us, and they learn from them. Um, we same with when we go on confined spaces. There is certain procedures and protocols you need to follow. So it's good for them to go and do the training. Sometimes we do training on how is if you're in a confined space and something happened to you, they have to rescue you. So how do you rescue people from confined spaces?
Does
Um,
this one has a pay? This
yeah,
training you.
they are all paid. Yes, yes.
Well, I mean, how much would it take for? Is it virtually because you're in Singapore?
No, usually here are more you. There are a number of institutes who offer this type of training, but in Singapore, safety is very important, and the government subsidize to the local companies for the training, and they give you subsidies so you can afford to train as
So
many
more or
people.
less, I fly to Singapore. More or less, it's about maybe 20,000 pesos, something like that. Plus,
Mhm.
I'm just guessing. It's maybe 20,000 pesos. And then, how much would be my training?
Depends. Some of the trainings they go maybe $200 or $300, and some the more
US dollar or Singaporean dollar?
Singapore dollars. Yeah, which
200,
is
which is
uh,
done in one day.
done in a couple of days. You
Couple
have
of days.
depends on the training. If you do supervisor training, some are 4 or 5 days, and obviously they are more expensive, maybe $800-900. Um, that's with the government subsidy. Without the government subsidy, probably it's 2 or 3 times that figure. Um, because you use real life and equipment and everything for this training. You learn how to do it properly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. One thing. I would like to greet these people. Maybe you could also inform this Darwin Batakan of Asia Brewery. You know, they make the
Mhm.
best beers
Yeah.
here in the Philippines. Asia
Yeah.
Brewery. They're a big conglomerate. They have.
Yeah.
They also brew the local. No, I think they got a license from Budweiser. No, not Budweiser. Heineken.
Yeah.
Heineken beer. They do that. John Carl Alvarez. So we now have a guest telling you that we could train in Singapore. You have to fly. You have to invest in yourself, right?
Yeah, you can. Yes. And the training here is very good. Singapore builds a lot. And, construction here, the big MRTs, so they dig tunnels, they build tall buildings, they have shipyards, so they have semiconductors, which are all industries where it's high risk. Digging tunnels is not easy task. Building ships is not easy. Semiconductors, although everything is done in clean rooms, they use very dangerous gases. So, and each of these industries require different type of training. And on top of that, you have the oil and gas. Here, petrochemicals are also quite big, and the refineries are very big. So there is a lot of training here given to people. And Singapore uses a lot of foreign workers. So when foreign workers come to Singapore, they need to be trained because in many instances, they are not aware of many things. So we are lucky that we are here, and we use this opportunity also to train our people as well.
That's what I was about to ask you about the Singaporean one, safety. I heard in the news that there was a crane accident in the Universal Studios. Have you heard about that?
Yeah. Just a few days ago happened. Yeah.
So more or less, could you send some email regarding to us here? So because I'm a crane man, I want to know
what happened.
What happened. So you basically know. Have you give us a short or a brief thing what happened there?
Well, at the moment, we only know very little what the news tells you. They say, there was an accident. But here, when there is an accident, they tell you it's an accident. But the Minister of Manpower, they will send a team to investigate, do a root cause of analysis of what happened. And then they will come out with a report. But that takes a couple of months. The report doesn't come overnight. And then they make it available because they use it as a case study also to tell them, see, they did this wrong and this happens. And we use those case studies to reinforce our people as well, to go and look and see, learn from that. The idea is to learn from somebody else's mistakes so we don't make it as well.
That's very good. Very, very good. Nicely thing. So I think I should be visiting you in Singapore if I know somebody, and we could meet face to face, and you're a very, very learned man. You're articulate, and you're good. So
thank you.
Considering that you've already made your 5 points, regarding this disasters, this natural, which the Philippines, we normally have not only typhoon, we have earthquakes. I was still a young guy. We were at the Shell group of companies in Pandacan before. It's no longer, there's no longer Shell in Pandacan, but then there was a massive earthquake. I think it was magnitude 8. It destroyed a lot of our buildings, a lot of our livelihoods. So how could any business recover from from this kind of events? There's there's flood, there's a big thing that happens. So what do your company suggest that how our business could recover from such disasters?
Yes, this is our specialty, really. This help companies to get up and running after disasters. Basically, first, you need to put into the context of a disaster. Suppose it's a typhoon, which is one of the most common events Philippines face every year. And typhoons are very destructive. They are really... they can cause a lot of damage to a wide area. So we call it wide area disasters. It not only affects the particular businesses, but also affects the whole society, the infrastructure. You have no power, no water, sometimes not even roads, because everything is quite messy. So for us is, although our company, we are a global company and we can bring resources from anywhere in the planet, but when you have this type of events, the logistics of bringing a lot of people to help is also a challenge. And for us, we don't want to spend a lot of our resources and time dealing with logistics. We want to spend time trying to help, to get things up and running. So usually our response is not with a lot of people, because one thing Philippines has, especially after a disaster, is people. And if you go to a factory, all the workers in the factory, they cannot work. So our job is basically, we go there, we assess the risk first, and then we prepare a plan where we use the local people. We put them to work. Putting people to work helps a lot, because you can imagine you live in that area, maybe it's an island, and your house is damaged, maybe people die, everything, nothing works, no power, no water, and then you go to work and no place to work. So the morale is very low. People, obviously, you are shocked because of what happened, but also now you think on the future, you think on your family, what are you going to do? So for us is, first we assess the risk, and then we come up with a plan to put them to work, to start cleaning the place. If it's a factory, remove debris safely. And we try to bring equipment to bring power and water. And very quickly, you change the situation. Although you are only pre-cleaning, the place looks better. So in the mindset of the people is, okay, there is hope. We are doing something positive now, just by working and doing this type of work. And then we have to develop a plan with the management of the different businesses to see what are the priorities. You cannot fix everything at one time. So for us, priorities always is power and water, because that's what brings you back to life. But after that, you want to start producing again. So we sit down and we discuss what are the priorities, and then we can bring more equipment to help with the repairs and the rehabilitation of the businesses. But that helps a lot the people, the morale as well. We see this during Yolanda, and I was there, I think 2 days after the typhoon passed. And we went to Cebu, and then we jumped on the Roro, on the ferry, with a vehicle and some food and water. We stopped in Mormok, and then from there to Tacloban took us about 2 or 3 days to get there, because the place was just devastated, basically. And it took us quite some time before we can really start making a difference. But many organizations, what they did is they get the people there, and they say, okay, we pay you a few pesos. I think it was 400 or 500 pesos a day. And the job is just clean the roads. Yeah? Just remove debris from the roads, put it on the side, so you can start moving, and things become better quite quickly. And that's part of, when you have these natural disasters, the human factor is very important. And we know they are very affected. And you try to keep them occupied, give them work, give them hope. So they start, changing their mindsets.
Okay, Engineer Gabio. So as you were saying here, you are the ones who like you have a contingency plan for these companies to go after a disaster is done. So, do you is there something like a contract between you and a Filipino company in an event a disaster happened to their company, that there was flood, or they were their computers were completely destroyed, or their trucks were submerged underneath the flood? So kindly elaborate on this one.
Well, most of the time we don't have, because it's a one-off event. But with some global companies, we do have, because the global companies, disaster can happen anywhere. And because we also are a global company, we are part of the disaster restoration plan. We work with the risk managers. But those are only a few. Most of the times, many insurance companies, they call us and say, "Oh, we have all these customers which they suffer losses. Can you go and help?" Yeah. So they are the one who introduce us and say, "Okay, this company Belfort can assist you." So we go there and we start working with them.
So does Belport also have some, preemptive plans, like
Yeah,
that we give, let's say we go to companies like San Miguel, Asia Brewery, or Meralco,
yeah.
in the event a major typhoon was it, we tell them what to do. You design a plan for them. Am I right, Engineer Gabio?
Yeah, usually large companies, they have their own plan, and we are just one piece of that plan. Yes, and because we can do damage assessment, we can recover equipment, but some equipment cannot be recovered, too much damage. So we are just one piece of the whole disaster restoration plan, which these companies may have. And we don't go and we dictate how they do things. Usually they know better than us, the company, and what they have. And we just assist them with certain aspects of this.
That's very good. So, to know a certain company, and this could be another one for the listeners here or viewers that we have, like that. Are you getting people like I know that Ma'am Engineer Race Aurelio is listening. He says
Yeah.
mentions hello. So hi, Engineer Rachel and Aurelio. So do you hire people like locals like Ma'am Rich from the Philippines?
Yeah, we hire. We have some Filipinos working in our offices in Japan. We have Rachel in Philippines. We plan to hire more.
Okay.
We eventually we want to have an office in the Philippines as well. At the moment, we have equipment and Rachel, and sometimes I go and I help her, or we have in Asia we are about 250, so we have resources to help, and we move around a lot because disasters don't happen in one place. Like the typhoon Noru went to Philippines and then to Vietnam, so we are also working in Vietnam. It caused some damages in Vietnam as well. We did some work in Philippines related to the typhoon, and so yeah, we have a niche team where we are all mobile. We all go wherever the damage is, and our main focus is first we start doing mitigation, because many things what people don't see is after the disaster finish, the damage doesn't stop. The damage continues, and sometimes it gets much worse after the incident. So our first priority, besides this and looking at the safety side, is mitigation, stop the damage. Otherwise, you spend too much time planning the repairs, and then the equipment deteriorated too much and cannot fix now.
Yes, correct.
And it takes much longer to get up and running. So
Yeah. You have to really get up as fast as you could, so and try to salvage
yeah,
the things that could still be salvaged, and you try to scrap everything and clear up your place. I remember a time there was, I think, in 2006 or 2005, there was a major flooding of Bangkok, and mostly,
yeah.
yeah, these semiconductors
Yeah.
would move out, and I was there. I was
Hmm.
trying to help one semiconductor company how to move out their machines because
Yeah.
the owners of the plant does not want anymore a disaster to
Hmm.
happen because that disaster they say will happen again. So they try to call me and move out things that could be moved out
Hmm.
and things
Yeah.
that could no longer be assessed. So I have some experience. So in that, when I
Mhm.
tried, but my other Filipino workers, they don't want to stay. If only we stayed there for 2 days, we could have get the cost of the wood, the
Mhm.
packing material, the container, and a shipping line that will bring it. They brought those machines to Malaysia and to the Philippines. No,
Mhm.
unfortunately, we did not get the job because my Filipino friends, they want to know how much is the deal. So I told them it's not the money. We
Yeah.
should first get the rate because
Yeah.
the Thailander company already
Mhm.
wants a cost of how
Yeah.
much is it to bring it out.
Yeah.
Before bringing it out, we have to clean it, things like
Yeah.
that, and
Yeah.
that's very, very good talking to you, Engineer Gab. Now, considering what you've mentioned, that are you going to hire like a sales engineer or a
Uh,
sanitary engineer or environmental engineer? What kind of people or accountant? What kind of people were you looking at hiring from here in the Philippines?
Mostly, initially, we look at engineers. Any mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, it's okay. Um, Safety people, mostly we train our safety people. And we are quite versatile. We play many roles in the company. Like we we also have to sell projects. Yes, it's not only go and do the assessment and say, okay, we do this safely, but also we have to convince the owners of whoever owns the equipment or the factory that we are the right party to assist. So we also do by showing our knowledge dealing with disasters that we can help more than some other companies. Um, and we basically, uh, this industry and the disaster recovery industry is very special in the sense, disaster happens anytime, and we are always pretty much on 24 hours, 7 days a week on call. We never know when we are going to get the call, and then we have to either jump on a plane or jump on a car and go somewhere for a while. Sometimes we go for 6, 8 weeks, sometimes it's more, 3 or 4 months. So, um, not only your profession, your skills, but also your ability to be able to work in this type of industry, which
No,
is it's not comfortable. Yeah.
because unfortunately, Brad Pitt he's a movie actor. He's my partner, but he could not attend. Maybe he's preparing for some Christmas presentation because he sings. He's an actor. He's a
Mhm.
scriptwriter. But you know, our company is called JLF Project International, and we have another company called JLF Project Training and Assessment Center, wherein we teach young people or old people how to operate heavy equipment. And
Mhm.
the other one is a safety and consultancy firm, wherein
Mhm.
we train basic occupational safety and health,
Mhm.
construction, occupational safety, and health. And we could tie up with you if we don't have any partner yet here in the Philippines. You could tie up with us, and
Mhm.
we could do a lot for you. Then this would be very good. The start, we could fly to Singapore. And by the way, if I go to Singapore, every guest that we have, I don't know if this is part of our. We give out this dishwashing soap.
Okay.
We also give this fabric conditioner.
Okay. Yeah.
We also give alcohol, and then a T-shirt which says all about safety. Which if
Mhm.
I would try to visit you in Singapore, and I've been there. Is the Universal Studios already open?
I think it's open. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Not
try to
fully.
bring.
No, not fully, but I think it's open. Yeah. I haven't been there for a long time, actually. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
we want to rest. We
Yeah.
want to take a rest and take it
Yeah.
easy with this coming Christmas, or maybe next year. We are planning Brad Pitt. That's what he called. His screen name is Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt. Okay.
Yes, Brad Pitt. But actually, his name is Herman Salvador. He's a
Yeah.
movie actor. He was my former neighbor, Del, at the Shell oil company in there in Pandacan. So I would like you to greet, the 15th founding anniversary of the Triskelion Landayan chapter, San Pedro, Laguna, from Vernesa Jonathan. No, continue listening to Bobot Magsale. Also, these ones, Jesse Pacunla, Justin Atienza, and Engineer Emerson Tierra, who's the former corporate safety manager of the Petron. Petron. He works for Petron, but he is retired already from Petron. I think he's a safety consultant for one of the big safety organizations here in the Philippines.
Mhm.
And Engineer JP Batan, who is into whatchamacallit, the third-party assessment center for heavy equipment. If you have a crane, if you have a forklift, you have a trailer, you have a truck that you needs to be certified that this is in good running condition, they do. That's their business. So good afternoon. So our guest now, how to win the prizes? As I've said, you tell who is our guest, what is our topic. You share it and you print it on screen so as our safety advocacy would be known. And we're right now talking how we could be of help to a company like Bell 4 Asia. Is that the correct, how do you say it? The Bell 4 Asia?
Croatia. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
And he's also looking for some engineers, electrical, mechanical. I
Yeah.
guess if you're an environmental engineer, better also.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah. The only problem in Singapore, we cannot bring that many foreigners because Singapore has
okay.
a quota system. Otherwise, we would have brought a lot more. But in Japan, we tend to hire a number of Filipinos. Yeah.
But they should speak Nihongo.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a problem in Japan. Yeah.
Japanese, as I've said, I have a
Yeah.
daughter right now who's in Germany. She's first learning the German language before, and now she's trying to work out how to be a nurse there in Germany. So, Julian Jane, is it a good morning there? I think it's good morning or good
Yeah,
evening.
good morning
Uh,
there.
Good morning there. So, I also have here from Australia, listening from Australia, Mr. Michael Escalona. So, Mr. Michael Escalona, we have a foreigner guest here, and I know that you are an expat in Australia. So, more or less, one of these days, maybe we could all join together in how we could be of service. I would like to show you this thing, Engineer Gabio. If I go there to Singapore, I would be giving you this.
Oh, nice.
Kapag,
What about safety? Upside down. There.
yeah, that's it.
Ah,
All about
nice.
safety. So, are you extra large or are you large? What is your build?
I'm just large only.
Extra large, okay.
No, large.
Large.
Yeah.
Large, okay. We'll be doing that. It's very, very nice, to have a. I think before we also have another guest who's a foreigner, And we would like to tell everybody watching that safety changed my life. I was able to buy a car, a house, and have this business. And right now we are producing. I am producing the show from try to help people that there's so many young ones there. That's why I ask you your journey. Is first you work and the wages that you get, try to save it and try to create a discipline, right? A work. If you're going to be an engineer, a nurse, or an accountant, or sometimes you could be a doctor or a lawyer, you know,
Yeah.
and maybe you could be a refrigeration technician, which
Yeah.
also costs a lot job, or maybe a an auto mechanic. You know, it also you know if you're a mechanic of Mercedes Benz or this European cars like BMW, it is
Yeah.
I always pronounce it BMW, but my daughter says it should be pronounced BNV. It's German. They also cost a lot. So,
Yeah.
Mr. Guido, I would like this to ask you another question.
Yeah.
When this typhoon hits us, you know,
Yeah.
what is the most critical period, the very critical period that we must note, and what do we do?
What do you do? Okay. First, you have to know the limitations of the place where you are. Yes. Most of the time, you see a typhoon coming, and you know if your house is going to withstand a typhoon or not. So that's what we call also assess the risk. If you think your house it may not survive the typhoon, you have to get out. Many people decided to stay because they worry about the belongings and the furniture. But if your house cannot withstand the typhoon, your belongings also, it's not going to survive. And you have to always consider that your life is more important. You know, it's not only more important, but it's more valuable than anything you have. So you better get your family, the people you love, move away. And the the other thing, and that's when I saw it during the Yolanda typhoon in Leyte, is that people didn't think that the typhoon can push the ocean into the town. A lot of people died because of that. And so even if you think your house can withstand the typhoon, if you are too close to the shore, you are not safe because you may drown. When you're in the middle of the typhoon, you cannot escape because if you go outside, you know, the wind will blow you or you may get killed by debris flying around. So to me, if you see a typhoon coming and you're close to the water, you better move away. Or if you think your house is not strong enough, also you have to do that. That's the number one. What do you do after the typhoon? Okay, yes, you just have to basically pick up the bit and pieces and try to rebuild.
Okay, so sorry about that. We were talking about this. So
Yeah.
that's the very, very, very crucial part. But I would like to say to my countrymen that if you are really near the foot of the mountain, you don't build your house there because when the the debris or when an avalanche comes
Landslide.
through, it would just go down, and water would bring everything with it. It would bring the rocks, the fallen trees. It would
Yeah.
bring small rocks, mud, and everything. It would just go down onto you. So I encourage people not to build your houses on such a hazardous area. Also, on the beach, there should really be no houses there on the beach because when there is a typhoon, after there is a typhoon surge, there is a tidal wave sometime, not because of a typhoon, but because of an earthquake. I remember there was a time that there were 200,000 Indonesians that they were killed because of a tidal wave. They call it tsunami. You know,
Tsunami. Yeah.
we should not be living there, and then we are asking people to rescue us. We get trained in how to search and rescue. But the first place, we should not be there, my countrymen. As Engineer Gabio was saying, not more. Your house would not likely survive there. So, and they expect us to rescue you there. It's quite very funny.
No, that's why I tell them, you can build a house there, but if you see this coming, you have to get out. And then you go back. But they won't. And the problem is because the risk, they don't know the risk. If you don't know the risk, there's no fear. That's why many people stay. And then they pay with their lives, or they have to be rescued eventually.
Like you, right? You have you made your journey. You established yourself in Singapore. You work hard. People. I have certain people talking to that they have been working from 8 to 5. Nobody works from 8 to 5. Nobody works from 9 to 6 either. Yeah. Sometimes you start at work at 8. You go home at 9, 10. You read the emails from Germany. You read the emails from Asia, and you make up a paper, a quotation. You analyze it with your boss. There's a lot of things to be done. Unfortunately, Engineer Gabio, we only have 2 minutes, more than a minute. So I would give the mic for you, and you greet and you promote your show, and that's it. 1 hour has already lapsed. Okay, Engineer Gabio, go ahead.
Time flies. Okay, just to recap, is safety is something that people need to start thinking about. Think on the risks, and knowing the risk, it will help you to be safer. And so try to look around and see what can go wrong and how can this wrong thing can affect you, and do something about it to avoid it or make it lesser. And also, I'd like to thank you, Jay, and all your team for giving me the opportunity to be here to just share a little bit my experiences. And well, hopefully this can help to other people to start thinking about safety and typhoons. You live in the Philippines, you're going to have them every year. So again, think how can you mitigate the damage of these typhoons that can cause to you, your family, and basically the environment, the place. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you, Engineer Gabio. As I've mentioned, we could be your agent here in the Philippines. We could work with Engineer Rachel, and we could work with anybody. I have 3 young guys here watching with us right now. The others have left. It could be a great, team, and who knows? We would like to work with you. We would like to work with everybody. And the one listening, like here, is a very hard name to pronounce. 𝐒𝐀𝐁𝐎𝐓𝐘 Zur. He's a safety officer from Acer Corporation, Marian Domingo Liwanag. Good afternoon to everybody. This is Jay Ferrer saying to you, smile and be safe. Thank you very much, Engineer Gabio.
Thank you.
Thank you very much to everybody. So, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Every Saturday, 1 to 2 p.m., let's all listen to your TDJ Perez, the professional safety and skills advocate on air.